Hey everybody, welcome to the Space Coast Real Estate Spotlight. Today I am joined by our guest Audra Farley with Island Pineapple Realty, and we are going to be discussing why people relocate to the Space Coast. I think I know why, but I want to hear what she has to say. Be right back, everybody. We'll fix it. Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah. So today's been a very busy day, which is great for a Monday because you had 2 days to recover, kind of. Not that we ever have days off because I worked all weekend, but
yeah, me too.
Oh, good night. So thanks so much for coming on, Audra. I appreciate that. And exciting topic that we're going to discuss today. There's been a lot of people that are coming here to the Space Coast from all over. Some of them are coming here because they just love it. Some of them are coming here because they're relocating for work. But I want to get your perspective as a real estate expert on why people are moving here to Brevard County. What do you think?
So it's been interesting at open houses. I kind of mentioned on my story yesterday. Most of the open houses I'm doing are people are coming in, relocating. A lot of them are obviously coming from the north, but most of them are coming. A lot of them are coming back. Like, oh, I'm coming back home, or we're moving, down south. We're retiring. Obviously, that's going to be a trend in Florida. But I think, the warmer weather, I think, obviously that's always going to be a trend for people moving to Florida. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of gauge their quality of life, right? Like, I think the pandemic kind of put that in us in that mindset where if I'm going to live somewhere, what is my quality of life going to be when I'm there? So those are kind of fun conversations I've been having with people at open houses is if they are going to move, kind of what are they looking for quality of life? Do they want more outdoor living? That kind of became a huge thing with the pandemic, right? Like we put a pool in, we increased our square footage for outdoor living in our home personally. So I think people are just starting to take, starting to take notice of what they want that to look like. This is my dog, Gwen. She's here with me today. Sorry.
That is the cutest little puppy. Hello. You don't ever have to apologize for bringing dogs on. We love dogs.
I was like, oh, she's coming up.
Nice.
So I think that's, the big thing, right? I think that's always going to be a trend for Florida. Mm-hmm. Other things I've kind of done is just, Florida doesn't have a state income tax. So that's huge for people, that are both working and, just the retiring people that, kind of want to look at their whole nest egg as a whole. So it's kind of become like a retirement haven. But 55 plus communities, I have found, I have a listing in Heritage Isle right now. And the theme at open houses in that community is, which I found interesting. I'm not quite 55, but I'm above 50, is when you have kids, right? Like that's kind of where you go to meet you get to meet other parents. You're, doing things with your kids, you're doing this and that. But people are kind of flocking to the 55 plus community for that reason is because they have the community center, they have activities. It's kind of like you're moving into a built-in friendship, collaboration neighborhood. Sure. So, and that really works for a lot of people. That's they need that kind of incentive to kind of get back in there. So obviously we have a lot of 55 plus communities. There's a bunch in Vieira. There's some in Melbourne. There's some new construction. So, it's kind of a hot spot for those people looking for that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of folks moving here for their retirement years. And why not? It's a great place to live. There's a new community that Lennar's building also over off of Heritage Parkway. Yep. Can't think of what it's called right now, but that's a beautiful new community that they're still building out. So to your point, there's a lot of communities that are geared toward the 55 plus crowd. And like you said, they have built-in friendships, the community. There's a lot of amenities that they're putting in these places. There's, when I think, of course, not that I'm young, but when I think back to, when I was younger and I thought about retirement, all I ever pictured was South Florida, shuffleboard, like playing bridge. Like you have these weird misconceptions of what retirement looks like, right? And then you get to retirement age and you're like, yeah, that's not me. I'm not that guy. I want to do this. I want to do that. So a lot of communities have these great activities for the younger, 55 plus folks.
Yeah. I mean, there's still very active neighborhoods and communities for sure. But, I think in kind of on the opposite spectrum is people that are working, right? Like obviously our aerospace industry is taking off. Get it?
I like that. That was very clever.
But, that's bringing a lot of jobs, aerospace jobs. I mean, people are flocking here, right? And it's interesting kind of from a real estate perspective that we have a little bit higher inventory than we have in the past for homes. We're kind of up against the new construction for existing homes, but the job market is just really exploding here, which obviously is good for Brevard. I mean, we're one of the Vieira's, like I think it's the number one planned neighborhood in the country. So it's and it's I think maybe halfway done being built. If you haven't been out there in a while, you really should drive around. It's incredible. But I mean, to that too, I think, the people that are working are still wanting the lifestyle when they're done working. They want to be able to come home and enjoy the outdoors and be with their family, and I think that just kind of Florida obviously lends to that. We do have a really good diverse kind of culture here, being so close to, I mean, obviously we have a lot of diversity in culture in Brevard, which I think is growing. But being so close to Orlando, we have a lot of activities. There's theaters, there's sports, there's everything. So we're really drivable to a lot of things, which I think really also, kind of puts Brevard on the map as far as those things kind of go.
Agreed. And you mentioned Orlando, but I'm a big sports guy. And where we live, 2.5 hours north, south, or even west, and you can get professional football, baseball, hockey, basketball in Orlando. So we live in a spot that's desirable. We're nearby the ocean, and we're pretty close to a lot of professional sports as well. If you're into sports, no matter what your sport flavor is, there's a ton of different sports here. There's professional soccer in Orlando. There's a lot of things going on. That's football for you Europeans and everywhere outside.
We're actually season ticket holders to Orlando City, so we're there a lot. Even driving into Orlando, I lived in Seattle for 16 years, so I'm kind of used to that big city. But it's kind of fun coming from. I live in the Atlantic, so coming from our small little beach town to Orlando. But there's so many things right within. I mean, there's theater. There's the Kia Center now. There's everything's within. It's so close to proximity that and not to mention the big mouse in Orlando. That's always fun. The theater parks are always a hit. So obviously people are gonna come there. And I'm seeing a trend too in just the beachside communities. People are wanting. I think are learning how drivable it is from the beach to Orlando, right? To Disney. It's an hour and a half with traffic. So people are starting to utilize the Airbnbs and things like that, and then still driving to Orlando. So they're kind of getting the taste of both worlds, if you will.
Yeah. One of our favorite things to do, my wife and I, is to do a staycation where we maybe go to Orlando for a weekend or drive up to St. Augustine for a weekend. Like, we're located so perfectly where we are. You can go to all these really cool destinations where people spend, thousands and thousands of dollars to come visit. And we can, on the spur of a moment, say, hey, let's go have a weekend up here or over there. There's a lot of different things to do. So the Space Coast has a lot to lend for employment. It has a lot to lend for retirement. It has a lot to lend for young families because of all the proximity that we have to, like you said, the House of Mouse and all the different things that are going on, arts and theater and music and sports. on top of all of those really cool things, we also have amazing restaurants. We also have, I mean, so people are going to argue with me, and I'm from Connecticut, which is the pizza capital of the world. Anybody that wants to argue that with me, please do. Connecticut has the best pizza ever.
Yeah.
But we have amazing pizza places here in Brevard.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know that's going to be like a hot topic. People are going to want to argue that with me. But
no, I mean, there are. I mean, it's just, a fact. I mean, even in downtown Melbourne, downtown Melbourne, where, it's a huge booming community. It's just, it's really growing, and the nightlife is picking up, and restaurants, like you said, I mean, there's tons of places that you can go. A lot of them are, family owned, which we always try to kind of go to, which is fun.
Yeah.
I think one thing we should mention too is the cost of living here compared to other places in the country.
Yes.
I did a little research, so I have to read this, but compared to Seattle, which, like I said, I lived there for 16 years, owned a house there, a couple houses actually, and the rate of sale, I mean, we think that Brevard is like really just booming. I mean, it's all relative, right? But the cost of living in Seattle is 105% higher than Florida. So, a lot of the people that are moving here, they might get a job transfer, and sometimes they can keep their West Coast salary and move to Florida and, just really benefit from that. But people, I think, are becoming a lot smarter and kind of looking at the cost of living. And I think, not to bring it up again, but the pandemic really kind of put things in perspective for people. Like, I just do. I think it kind of put everything in perspective as far as the quality of life that you're wanting for the work and the hours that you're putting into it.
For sure.
I think that just puts Florida, all above everybody else.
Yeah.
We have, obviously we have, everybody's dealing with the cost of insurance and everything like that, right? In Florida is the highest insurance and all of that. But again, you have to keep it in perspective. What's your quality of life, and I tell people, I just call it the living in paradise tax.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, I think that, I could talk all day about Florida. I've lived here 8 years, having lived in Seattle for 16 and then born and raised in Colorado. So I've seen all different things and all different realms of the market. And it's kind of funny, like your perspective changes as you get older, right? Because my 20s, we're in Colorado. You think you have all this time. And then in your 30s and 40s, you're starting to kind of go, okay. You start to kind of look at the balance of where you want to be job-wise, where you want to invest your money. So I think it kind of lends to, why people want to live in Florida.
Yeah. Well, your point, the fact that you are able to relocate here potentially and keep your West Coast salary and work remotely, that's a huge thing for people that want to get out of the places that they're in.
Right.
I've never lived in Colorado, but I can imagine living in Colorado that there's probably really amazing times a year. And then there's probably some times a year where it's no fun to be there because maybe it's too cold or whatever the case might be. Right. And you want to live in a place where you have more of the coastal, more of the humid. I'm going to say humid's a good thing because I don't mind it. Temperatures where you don't have to worry about it. Is it going to be really, really cold today? Right. I'm sure that it's no fun waking up in the morning and finding that your car's snowed in. And there's a lot of reasons why somebody might not want to live there.
Yeah.
In Seattle, I know that the weather in Seattle sometimes is great, but my sister has loved Seattle and she's told me that oftentimes, and I don't know if it's just a stereotype that she's perpetuated, but it is a little gloomy sometimes, and it is a little rainy. It is a little overcast, right? So being in Florida where there's just sunshine, except for that 5 minutes every day during the summer, right? Seems like every day, 5 minutes.
It comes right back. Yeah.
You mostly have sunshine, and you mostly have great weather year round. There are cold days, absolutely, but overwhelmingly, you have days where you can be outside and do things. You can work outside. You can do.
I do it all the time. I work poolside. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Exactly. But I think, I think people as the age, some people can't handle the cold. And we
Right.
have great healthcare systems here. We have, universities people can get transferred to, all of that. So the healthcare system in Florida, I think,
Yeah.
is above, some other parts of the country.
Agreed.
And I do hear people at open houses and just kind of talking to people that's a big thing for them, is being in close proximity. Even if Brevard doesn't have something, again, it's an hour drive to Orlando where you get specialists and everything else. So,
Yeah.
we're just really centrally located. I know Central Florida, but we're centrally located to where even if you have to drive to Tampa, it's 3 hours.
Right.
Orlando, an hour, 20 minutes.
Right.
So, I think it's just, we're kind of in this really special spot that I think people are starting to, the secret's getting out, I think, about
Yeah.
Brevard County.
Yeah, I've lived in Brevard since 1989, and I've seen it grow so much over the last 34, 35 years. It's become like the bigger cities that I used to
Mhm.
travel to with my family when we were younger. When we would go down south, some of the bigger towns down there that we would visit, I'd be like, holy cow, I don't ever want to live in a place like this. And slowly, I'm starting to realize that that wasn't so bad. And what we're becoming up here is a mini version of that, where we have the ability to have these cool things. It used to be
Yeah.
very rural, I think. Like, it's
Well,
not as rural.
Riviera, right? It was,
Right, right,
cow
exactly.
fields.
I remember when
Yeah.
Vieira, you get off 95 there, and that was it. There was no west on
Yep.
Wickham Road,
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that it's grown out.
Yeah.
But again, as a kid, going to the Fort Lauderdales, the West Palms, like, I hated the thought of living in a place like that. And as I'm older now, and Brevard is starting to get some of those cool things, I don't mind it so much. Those places are still uber busy compared to Brevard, but we're
Yeah.
getting some of the fun stuff. So it's just a really cool thing to see us grow from a small, I think, very rural area into what
Right.
we are today,
Yeah.
where we have the amazing aerospace, the government contractors, a lot of big name places that you hear about are coming into town. And I'm all about shop local, but some of these bigger places, I think, again, another point of contention, I'm sure, are a necessity. We need some of these things. I would much rather shop local. I would much rather buy local groceries, local produce, local everything.
Right.
And I do, for the most part. But
Yeah.
you need some of these bigger places sometimes, like the Amazons. We're in a culture now where everybody wants everything just like that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine
Instantaneous.
if we didn't have the ability to get Amazon same day or next day? I think people would lose their minds.
They would. I really think they would. And I think,
Yeah.
I think we have a culture, and I can only speak for, living in Brevard, but I feel like it's stronger here. I don't know. This is probably a contentious topic too, again, but I just feel like we kind of support our own, maybe than more than a lot of other communities.
Yeah.
I know the more that I've lived in other communities myself, again, it might be an age thing. Maybe I just appreciate it more now, but I think just, shopping local, support local. I think that there's just a greater feeling for that than other places I've lived.
Yeah.
And, Florida, it doesn't even have to be, specific to Brevard. It's just, people really do tend to kind of support Floridians and kind of what they're doing specific, because we're kind of down here by ourselves. We have to protect ourselves.
Yeah. And we have really cool stuff that's done by local entrepreneurs, local artists, local musicians. Like, there's a lot of like restaurateurs. I love what we have going on here. And it's sad in some regards that it is becoming more well-known and the secret's getting out, because I feel like a lot of the fun stuff maybe won't be as fun when it's a little bit more crowded. But for now, I'm loving it.
Right. And I think that part of that's seasonally, I think that obviously we have the snowbirds and things like that. So it gets a little bit more crowded. You learn to kind of navigate that schedule, right? You kind of learn to navigate, like, I'm going to get my doctor's appointments done in the summer.
Right.
So you're not, up against the other traffic, but it's just, it's such a amazing place to live. I love, like, my daughter went to the beach the other day with her friends. It was just like, I feel safe. You have fun. You're 3 blocks from the house. And it's just, and I feel very fortunate that we don't have to like save up all year, right? I know
Right.
families all over the nation save up all year to come to the beaches. And so we're just very fortunate that we have that in our backyard.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think I definitely do. And I think a lot of people take for granted the fact that we are where a lot of people, and you said, and I said earlier, spend years saving and planning to come visit for a week. And like, we're here all the time.
Yeah.
And like, the novelty wears off so quickly. We don't think about the fact that we're where people want to come visit.
Yeah.
We're here all the time.
Where you vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you drive over the causeway, either going west or east, and like it's beautiful.
It's
right?
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
I literally count my blessings every day. I tell my husband this all the time, and he probably thinks I'm crazy, but I love living here. Like, I can't believe I live here. And it's, I've been 8 years, and I still feel fortunate. I love looking out my window and seeing palm trees.
Yes.
It's just the little things. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You just kind of live in a postcard, and it's just amazing to be a part of it.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm so ingrained in the amazing fact that we have pools in our backyards, a lot of us, and we're so close to the beach. Right. I named my company Shore Point Mortgage because we're on the shore, and I want to embrace that. And you
it's
can
funny.
see in the logo, there's palm trees. Like, I just love everything about it.
I know. So when we bought our house almost 8 years ago, we bought literally the ugly duckling on the block. And because I could see the vision, like I knew what I wanted the house to become. And I think buyers are starting to kind of feel this a little bit more, is because when we had a really reduced inventory, I was able to kind of share with them, like, look, you can make this what you want. You might just have to put a little blood, sweat, and tears into it. Yeah. We took walls down. We reinvented our house, essentially, put a pool in the backyard. And I think people are starting to get a little bit better at that, picturing, okay, if I can't have a brand new construction house, or if my budget's not going to allow me to have, the Florida house that I see, on TV shows and things like that, I think people are starting to kind of, listen, like, okay, you can build equity. You can still have those things. Yeah. It might just take a little bit longer. Yeah. But again, what's your quality of life? Are you willing to put that work into your house to get to the goals that you want? Mm-hmm. So, it's starting to hail. Love Florida. I thought I heard thunder, and then it just like.
There you go, everybody. Live breaking news, meteorologist Audra Farley.
What? I didn't hear you.
Is it really that loud?
Yeah.
Oh, good night.
You can't hear it?
No.
I have to turn my volume up. Sorry,
I
friends.
can't.
Real life.
I was commenting on the fact that we were in the middle of talking about how amazing it is here, and then you became a meteorologist, giving us a late breaking weather.
It's a 3 o'clock weather storm. We haven't had one of those in a while.
So funny. This is live TV, folks. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I'm always real. That's for sure.
That's awesome. So I think one of the big takeaways, though, for anybody that's watching this or listening to this is, while Brevard is continuing to grow, and while it's grown quite a bit since I've been here, there's still tons of room for you to come in here. And if you want to be part of this community, reach out to Audra, reach out to me. We can help make that a reality for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can work magic, and I have good vision.
There you go.
And I have Nate.
Awesome. Audra, I want to be respectful of your time. We are just a few minutes away from a 30-minute block here. So is there anything that you want to share in closing with the audience?
I think, not really a lot more than I've already said. I think just, taking in everything Florida has to offer and looking to see if it's the right fit for your family, and deciding if you want to live in paradise.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining, and I hope that the hail goes away soon.
Stop now.
Oh, good. See? Just like that. 5 minutes gone. Boom.
See? We don't have it like those those northern folks. This is like here and gone.
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it.
Nate.
And we will see you again soon, hopefully.
I would love it. Thanks, Nate.
All right.
Talk
bye.
to you later. Bye-bye.